Scanning for audio.
Hello, and welcome to the Tin Dog Podcast. Yeah, I know I said I'd be away for a while, trying to finish off that book, and trust me, it is going on, but I just had so much I really needed to talk about. I mean, let's look at it. I haven't reviewed The End of Time, I haven't reviewed both Peladon stories, and Mask of the Mandragora, or Mandragora, set in the Renaissance, is coming out quite soon. The new Doctor's on the horizon, and I just couldn't help myself. So, I'm going back to basics. I'm using an automatic edit feature, which is why my pacing may seem slightly off as I talk, in order to reduce the edit time by a massive amount, and I'm also keeping these reviews as short as they were when I first started doing the TDP. So without further ado, let's start with, no, not The End of Time, let's start with the Peladon box set, Peladon Tales.
Shall be full of terror and darkness. His cries shall be heard in the night. And death shall walk in the land of Peladon.
Which way now?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There will come a day when the spirit of Agador will rise again. That day, a stranger will appear in the land. The ancient curse of Peladon will be fulfilled. Seize him, God! Defile the inner sanctum of the holy temple of Agador. Your mind, your word, your being, all are evil. The girl and the doctor have gone to face the judgment of Agador.
Doctor, something in the window.
Who dares challenge Peladon?
Please, I've got to find the doctor.
You are my prisoners. Will you fight?
Something in the window. Something alive.
The Peladon box set consists mainly of two rather nice stories, both Pertwee in nature, one 72, one 1974. The first one has Joe Grant as the companion, and the second Sarah Jane Smith. Sarah to her friends, Sarah Jane to anyone who fancies calling her that, and to be honest, SGS is how she appears in my notes. The first one, a 4-part story, the second one, a 6-part. It's a 3-disc set, allowing all 6 parts to appear on one disc, so there's none of that tedious ejecting and putting the next thing in, like you used to get on those wonderful VHS. Both stories are seen by most fans as allegories, stories with parallels that can be drawn in real life that allow the writer to examine certain ideas and concepts that appear in what's known to everyone else as real life. The first story deals with something that was a hot topic, if you like that sort of thing, in 1972, which was the United Kingdom's entry into the European Economic Community. Here, Peladon is a backward rural society, completely studio-bound apart from some very nice model shots. Its king, played rather dashingly by a certain second Doctor's son, Troughton in hockey skirts, gives us a truly great performance. The fact that Katie Manning was completely besotted by him at the time genuinely comes over in the performance and in the documentary that comes with the discs. It's not just an allegory for joining the EEC. It's an allegory for people fighting change, for people enjoying the old ways. It's a nice, tight story, but at this point I do feel I need to talk about the elephant in the room. You see, in this story, it's joining the Federation. Peladon, the planet, has decided to join a group of other planets, the Federation. See Blake 7 for more information on that. This Federation consists of lots of different alien races, represented here by the Ice Warriors. There's a lovely documentary about them on this disc as well worth seeing. A rather disappointing head in a jar. And yes, I need to talk about the elephant in the room, that is Alpha Centauri. At this point I intended finding, locating, and using the sample of Terrence Dicks describing exactly what this creature looks like. I don't have the time, but I'm sure you'll find it on one of the documentaries, and when you do find it, you'll just agree. It's a singularly rude and disappointing-looking alien monster. It's exceptionally alien. It's a giant head on a giant stick. Yeah, you've seen it before. It's definitively the sort of monster that would be wheeled out by people who don't like Doctor Who in order to show us how bad the monsters are. Here, the Ice Warriors are heroes. They're the good guys. But of course, there's a mystery as to who exactly is trying to scupper negotiations. I won't spoil it, but I will say it's a great story. The commentary is expertly delivered and wonderfully chaired by Toby Haydock, the person responsible for Moth Saved My Doctor Who scarf. He steps in and cajoles people into telling the stories that he knows already exist, gives us interesting facts, and then steps back at just the right moment to allow the actual stars to give us what they're there for, great background stories. Sadly, this is the first release with Barry Letts since his sad departure. I say sadly. It's actually great to see him on the documentaries and hear him speaking. This takes us to the second and admittedly slightly more disappointing second story. Not that the story itself is disappointing, it feels flabbier. It feels more like a retread of the first story. Here it's an allegory for the miners' strike of the early 70s, not to be confused with the miners' strike of the 80s, which brought about the demise of the mining industry in England. No. Here we have the same basic background. Rural society, modern technology, people turning up, the same mix of ice warriors and rude-looking aliens. But because it's been released as a boxed set, you start thinking, I've just watched this. Because you have indeed just watched something very, very similar. The same odd badger haircuts, the same ranting in corridors, the same royal beast. Not to say that this episode and story doesn't look great. For its time, it's an exceptionally good example. So what else is in this box? Well, there's the usual making of, here split over 2 discs, so Peladon Tales Part 1 and Part 2. A lovely little documentary, Warriors of Mars, all about the Ice Warriors, including some interview footage with Bernard Bresslaw. A nice little chat called John and Katie, about the relationship between John Pertwee and Katie Manning. Some rather nice storyboard comparisons between Ian Scoones' original sketches and what you see on the screen. The standard photo gallery, and of course a coming soon for Mask of the Mandragora. And so I'll fade away, leaving you only with some words about the SFX Weekender. So until next time, I'll be seeing you.
Radio from Yarrow.
Hello there, this is Tony Galashaw on behalf of the Doctor Who Podcaster Alliance, an alliance of Who podcasts held together simply by people being terribly nice to each other, quite frankly. It does mean that we can offer you this. We have, in conjunction with SFX magazine, arranged 50 sets of free tickets to the SFX Weekender convention, which will be held on the 5th and 6th of February. It looks set to be one of the biggest science fiction conventions in Britain this year. Guests include Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, Gareth David Lloyd, James Masters, Paul Cornell, Toby Hidoki, Diane Abnett, 2018 and many. All you have to do to enter the draw for a set of tickets is call 08700 110034. That's 08700 110034 and quote the code DWPOD. That's DWPOD. Phone up, let them know that you're interested. You'll be entered in a draw. There's 50 sets of 4 tickets each set. Good luck, basically. The Doctor Who Podcaster Alliance, the alliance that likes a nice cup of... No, hang on. We pod so you don't have... No. Guys, we really need to come up with a slogan.
You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.